Did you just say I was right?
Correct.
Oh, man. All right, well.
It's from that damn Karen Reed trial. Correct. Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say objection.
Sustained.
Perfect.
Sidebar.
Oh, should we kick this thing off?
Let's go ahead.
All right, well, I'll just go ahead and introduce. I'm Mike.
I'm Jamie.
And who are we?
We're the jury dropouts. We're the
Yeah.
wannabes.
We're the wannabes.
We're the cool kids.
Well, let's not go too far.
That's true.
All right, well, today it's we're talking some JonBenet Ramsey. Is it JonBenet or JonBenet? I don't know.
I think it's probably JonBenet.
All right, we'll say JonBenet.
I think it's JonBenet.
JonBenet Ramsey, which this case is almost an unsolvable case. I don't think it'll ever actually be solved.
Probably not.
Until tonight, because we're going to solve it. We have all the evidence, all of it, right here.
At least we'll have a dang good opinion of what happened.
Oh, I think we know what the opinion is. I think we're allowed to have opinions.
We are allowed to have opinions,
We
for
can
sure.
have opinions.
Everything's alleged, right?
Well, maybe not tonight.
Okay.
I don't know.
Very good.
So, I guess should we kick this thing off?
Marissa, how old were you? Do you remember this case? 96?
It was 96. So a little backstory, just to bore everybody that might actually listen to this show. So, all 4 or 5 of us. I was actually in the training center in 97, and it was a later part of 97. And in one of my classes, it was being taught by a guy named Don Capps. He was an investigator with Quincy, Illinois, I believe their police department. And this was one of the first cases that he brought up, and he was asked to consult, and he had gone down to Colorado and spoke to the investigators. I don't know if he read through the reports or looked through the evidence, but he said, "Nope, I'm out of here." And he told the class, he says, that thing is lost.
Because it was so messed up from the very beginning with the botched crime scene. Is that what you're alluding to, or why would he say nope?
His biggest concern was that the law enforcement that was present at the time allowed John Ramsey and others to search the house, which led to John ultimately discovering JonBenet, basically contaminated the whole scene, because once he picked her body up excuse me, and removed the tape from her mouth.
Yeah. Well, and, nothing against him. As a parent, I'm going to do the same thing. If I find my baby girl laying on the ground, potentially dead, I'm going to think that I can save her, and I'm going to do whatever I can. First thing I'm going to do is rip the tape off of her mouth and undo her ropes and try to save her life. So I don't blame him for doing that. I don't.
No, and I think any parent would. I think his problem is why were they in the house in the first place?
Well, right. That should have never happened to begin with.
And I kind of have a theory on that. And
are you going to tell us, or are we going to get into it later?
Yeah, I'll get into it later.
Okay.
But, so we'll go over just a case. So this happened on December 26th, 1996.
Yes.
And it started with a 911 call from Patsy.
Well, and I'm sure, I know, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but everybody knows who JonBenet is, correct?
Sure.
She's a 6-year-old little girl.
6-year-old little girl.
In the pageant world, Boulder, Colorado.
Yep, and I believe her mom was heavily involved in pageants.
Right.
And I think even as a young girl herself, she was in pageants. As a matter of fact, I think she was
she lived with her
Miss
parents,
something.
John, mom Patsy, and then her older brother, Burke.
Burke, and Burke was 9.
Yeah. Yep.
So she calls 911, and she reports that JonBenet has been kidnapped, and she'd found a note. And so, of course, police are dispatched, and the first officer on the scene, and I actually have the reports from the officers that showed up. The first one was from an Officer French.
Was this the female officer, or was this a different one?
I believe Officer French is a male officer.
Okay. Not that it matters. I just remember seeing an interview on some news channel from this female officer.
And I believe that she was a detective.
Okay.
And I think I might actually have her report as well.
I don't remember what her name was, but
Well,
I vaguely remember that interview because she absolutely thought that she knew what happened and who did it and who was guilty
well, I think
from the word go.
as we go through these reports, I think you're going to find out that every law enforcement there had a thought on who was responsible. And I think as we go through the reports, anybody listening, if all you had were these reports, probably going to come to the same conclusion.
Okay.
So anyways, at about 5:55 a.m., that's when Officer French arrives at the house. And he meets up with Mrs. Ramsey. And I'm just going to read right from the report. That way I don't screw
please.
this up. It says, Miss Ramsey told me that she had gone into JonBenet's room at about 5:45 to wake her up in preparation for a short trip to that the family was going to take later that day. She found JonBenet's room empty and then discovered the note as she walked down the stairs. And that's when she immediately called police.
That is not the way I remember it.
It's probably not, because that's actually in conflict with some of the other reports.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those reports were that she walked down the stairs, she found the note.
Right. In preparing for us talking about this, I watched a couple of the interviews, and she said that she woke up. They got up early because they were taking this family trip, and she went downstairs to make coffee or whatever. And when she walked downstairs to make coffee, that's when she found the note. She didn't go in her room.
Yeah,
That's weird.
And so I don't know. Now, it is possible that when he wrote his report that he got some details mixed up. However, that's not all.
But isn't that policing 101? Is you write down verbatim what they say? Or no? Or you make them write it down?
You try to. You know, one thing that I can point out, and I don't know if Boulder Police would have had them at the time, but we had in-car cameras at this time in our patrol cars. At least we did in 97. And I don't think they were terribly new. So maybe they had them in 96 at Boulder. Maybe they didn't. That I don't know. So, yeah. So, let's see. The next part of this report, let's see. You'll have to excuse me. You're probably going to hear some page flipping. Within 15 minutes of the law enforcement officer showing up, they've already got friends. And I don't think family. I don't think they had any family there, but they already had friends showing up. So I can also maybe see that where if it is a legitimate kidnapping where you're freaking out, you call law enforcement, you probably call your family, and you probably call some friends.
Yeah, I could, yeah.
So I go through the report some more. And it states when they're going through what had happened the prior night. So they'd been to a Christmas party.
Yes.
At a friend's house. And they had gotten home, and according to Mr. Ramsey, he read to both kids for a short time before they went to bed. And I think that also conflicts with some stories later on, because later on, I think we'll see that. I think he says that he only reads to JonBenet.
And that's totally not what I remember them saying either. I remember him saying she fell asleep in the car. He carried her up to her bedroom asleep.
See, and I've heard that too.
Why are there so many conflicting stories here?
I don't know, but
That's weird.
oh, it's going to get weirder.
How can you not remember reading to your child?
I don't know.
Odd.
Yeah. But, maybe.
Well, I know I'm jumping the gun here, but talked about the pineapple too. Because I remember Patsy saying, well, I didn't give her any pineapple before she went to bed. The whole pineapple thing was they found pineapple, undigested pineapple in her autopsy.
And they did find it.
But Patsy herself said, I didn't give her any pineapple because she was already asleep when we got home and we put her to bed.
Sure. And I think they might have said that maybe Burke had a snack.
It's just odd that I didn't realize there was this many conflicting
there's
stories.
The whole thing, it's going to get more odd. And actually, when I get into the detective's report, which is a lengthy report, there's a lot of things that I kind of highlighted throughout that report that I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And I think that the detective actually thought it was weird, which is why it's probably in the report. So they're talking about this kidnapping, and maybe we should read the kidnapping note because it's also weird.
Like the ransom note?
Or the ransom note.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bizarre.
So this is the note that was given to the officer. This is the note that was found. And it goes, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. I'm just going to pause for a second. The first time I read this, the first thing I thought was, what was the movie with, what's his name? $1 million.
Oh, Austin Powers.
So I immediately had that in my head.
$18,000.
I just pictured somebody writing this note and saying, you will withdraw $118,000.
Yeah, because what a strange and odd number.
It is an odd number. Okay, so you will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills for smaller purchases, of course. Make sure that you bring an adequate size. Is it pronounced attach? Attache.
Attaché. An attaché.
Everybody uses that word.
Mm-hmm.
To the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. Okay. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you be rested. Get that nap in.
Between the time he finds the note to 10 a.m.?
Yeah, I mean, that's like 5 hours. It's going to be rough.
Oh, boy.
If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an early delivery of the money, and hence, an earlier pickup of your daughter. 2 big words in there. Well, not big words, but hence. Attaché. Anyways, any deviation from my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. What am I doing? I'm being signaled by by Marissa.
Shaking your leg.
Oh, I was shaking my leg. Thanks. Okay, where was I? So, you'll also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not provoke them. Speaking to anyone out about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You try to deceive us. Oh, you can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with your law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you will stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC.
Okay. I got a question.
Fire away.
What's the first thing, if you found this note, what's the first thing you would do?
And I read it?
Yes. You're Patsy. You come down the stairs. You find the note. You read it. Then what?
Well, after saying, what the fuck, we don't have any beepers on this, so everybody's just going to have to hear that. So be warned, there might be some foul language. I would probably go look in the bedroom and see if she was there, but I'd also probably be freaking out and calling 911, yelling for my spouse. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do.
I guess what I was getting at is I would immediately I'd be screaming, John, get your ass down here. What is this? As I'm running up the stairs. And so did she tell John? Did she get John before she called 911? Or did she call 911 first? Because it totally contradicts what the note says. First thing I'd be doing is checking her room at the same time, screaming for my husband, saying, what the F is this? What's going on? What did you do? Because I'd be totally blaming him because they don't like him. And then figuring out, well, now what do? We can't call the cops because they're going to kill her. But that the first instinct is to call 911? That doesn't make any sense. Because in my brain, I'd be going, they don't like you. They specifically said, don't call the cops or they're going to kill her. They're going to call at 10 a.m. Let's just wait till 10 a.m.
Well,
That's what I would do.
I would probably freak out. You're probably right. I don't know that 911 would have been my first
It's
thing that
just
I did.
weird because as a mom, I'm thinking as a mom, I do not want to endanger my child. They're specifically saying, do not call the cops. My husband has something to do with this. He's pissed somebody off. And mind you, they're billionaires. She's going to say, get your ass to the bank and get the $118,000 and give it to him. I want my daughter back. I just don't, it makes zero sense. I'm just thinking as a mom what I would do. I'd say, if I'm a billionaire, $118,000 is nothing.
And I think that maybe that's something that I think people know that this family was wealthy, but I don't know if they know just how wealthy. I mean, they had their own private plane. I think it was a private jet.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this ransom note people didn't know they were wealthy because otherwise they'd be asking for a lot more. But Patsy obviously knows how wealthy they are. I'd be saying, get your butt in the car. We're going to the bank now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems weird.
The whole note to me is weird.
Well, yeah, the note is definitely
the 118,000. I don't know why they selected those denominations of 20s and hundreds. I don't know. Maybe that's common. I've never kidnapped anybody and left a ransom note. If I ever do, maybe I'll just go with 20s. Easier to spend.
Well,
Nobody wants 100 anymore.
so now we need to talk about, the theory is that, okay, this ransom note is not really a ransom note. This is a note that was a forged fake ransom note written by Patsy.
Yeah, and I think
We're going to go with that theory because that's the theories that are out there that, they think the family wrote this note as a cover-up, and that's where the odd number of 118,000 comes from. Because I feel like I heard, whether it's true or not, it was a bonus amount number that he received or something like that. I can't remember where exactly the number came from, but there's correlated the two. Maybe they tie together why that number was specific in there.
There was two amounts that I read in the investigative reports that it matched. One was a bonus that it received. Two was on his computer in his house. He had listed out maybe his debts, but I think they were listed at $1,118,000. So maybe she forgot a one.
Maybe she forgot a zero.
I don't know.
Forgot a zero at the end. Yeah.
But there is something else. Is also in an officer's report. This is what it says. This is from Officer Whitson, and this is after they had taken the note into evidence. I think they had taken it back to the department, and I believe that they're actually meeting with the FBI at this time.
Okay.
And in the report it says, let's see, a few minutes later, Detective Kurthcat returned to the room to show me something on a notepad which had been identified as Mrs. Ramsey's handwriting sample. And to back up a little bit, when officers were there that morning, they did obtain handwriting samples. I think both some historic samples and I know at least a current sample from John. And these were in notepads, two separate notepads, one labeled as John's, one labeled as Patsy's. So this was her notebook. And it goes on to say, so this notepad had been identified as Mrs. Ramsey's handwriting sample. There were 2 or 3 pages of writing. Then there was a page which was written in a felt marker that said Mr. and Mrs. R, which matched the same type of writing in the ransom note. And it goes on to say it was obvious that some pages prior to that were missing. Yeah, to this page had been torn from the notepad. And then it says, I didn't touch the page that this was written on. And then he goes on just to clarify that law enforcement was already suspicious by this time. Just says, at that time I questioned if Patsy Ramsey was a possible suspect.
And a piece of information that I had heard was that the pen that was used was actually placed on this, I don't know, in the foyer or by the table next to the front door where the telephone was, as a normal place that they kept the pen, like a pen and pad. That pen was placed right back by that telephone by the front door.
I think it was a Sharpie pen, so...
Something like that, yeah. So that was odd. That why would whoever wrote this note be so meticulous and go place that pen back where its normal place, so to speak, was?
And I think they ultimately, they determined that note was written in the house on one of their notepads.
Right.
So I guess another question is, if you're going to go to somebody's house and kidnap their kid and you're going to hold it for ransom, are you going to walk in there and say, oh, shit, I left the ransom note back at the hideout. God damn it. Well, I'll just use this notepad.
Yeah.
And then sit there on the steps.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he screwed up because he couldn't remember. He's like, God, was that 1,118,000? Or was it just 118,000? Shit. This probably wasn't even the boss. This was probably like a. It was probably like a mule would be in a drug ring.
I picture Cruella DeVille and then her two thugs. It's the two thugs that are sent to kidnap the puppies.
It's like, God damn it. Now, this is 96, so he probably couldn't pull his cell phone out and call the boss.
Well,
and
he
say,
could, but it was a razor.
Did they have
A razor
those in
flip
96?
phone.
I don't-
Yes.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I think they were bag phones. And every time you hit the button, it would go beep, 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 beep.
No.
And you don't want to wake them up.
No. We had progressed from bag phones by then because I was in college. Well,
You were in college in 96?
yes.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
I graduated in 93.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was in law enforcement. in 97. I was 20 in
It could
96.
have been close. It was pretty close to that time.
Well, I wasn't college material, so I wasn't in college. I was dumb. That's why I became a cop.
Yeah.
Anyways, where was we? We kind of got a little. Well, we didn't really get off too far. We were talking about
and you think about it, there, realistically, is somebody you're in to kidnap a child. Are you going to take the time to sit down and write a ransom note? No, I don't think that's possible. I just don't think that's realistic, unless if there really was a kidnapper. That kidnapper, in my mind, would have to be in the house already before they came home. As if he was stalking the house. He was planning on kidnapping her. He knew the routine. He knew they were going to be out. The family was going to be out at this Christmas party. He thought, okay, there's my opportunity. I'm going to be in that house, and I'm going to wait. That's the only plausible thing I can think of. Nobody's going to sit there in the middle of the night on the stairs writing this ransom note. Unless he was already in the house.
He was probably eating pineapple
Probably.
and writing this note on the stairs. Anyways, so another thing that I had heard is people say, "Man, I can't believe that law enforcement didn't search the basement of that house." And it wasn't actually until I read this report they did.
Yeah, they did.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
And somebody else had searched the basement, a family friend. And this officer, what did I say, his name was French. I bet he wasn't French. But he searched the house, and this is what he said. In the basement, I attempted to open the door leading to the area where JonBenet was ultimately found, but it was secured by a wooden latch above the door. The door opened inward, and I was looking for an access out of the house, like an escape route. Since the door could not have been used for that purpose, and the latch was closed, I did not open it. Because I think at this time, they're probably still thinking maybe this thing was an abduction or a kidnapping.
Right. And the way I pictured it, and I think I actually saw a depiction of this, is like, one of those flap latches that you put on and then you like turn the crank. One of those, I don't know what they're called.
Didn't he say this?
I mean, not necessarily like a deadbolt, but one that you got your anchor to the frame of the door, and then one side on the door it flaps over, and then you turn the toggle to lock it. That was on the.
But this door opened in.
Right, but there was that toggle latch. It was locked with that toggle lock, and it was locked up high because it was a wine cellar. They didn't want the kids getting in there, so it was a toggle lock. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
Draw it for you.
Well, if this is ever a video, nobody's going to see this drawing.
For you, so you're not looking at me like I'm crazy.
I always look at you like that.
It's got one of these. It's got the flap latch that comes, and it's got then you turn it to lock it, and then you turn it this way to unlock it and open it up.
I'm stupid. We'll just skip that.
Sake.
You're not.
Anyway, that's why he didn't go in there, because he thought, I'm looking for an exit access. There's no way that door could be locked up high if that kidnapper went out of that room.
And that's what he was looking for. He was looking for escape routes.
Yes.
So he didn't go in. And I bet he felt stupid because not long after that, he leaves. And he's back at the office. And that's when he hears at about just after 1 o'clock that there's a code black, and ultimately they had found JonBenet's body.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, it says right here. It says just after 1,300 hours, that's 1 o'clock. You probably knew that. You're in the medical field. I heard radio traffic concerning a 911 call and the discovery of a code black body at the residence. I returned to 755 15th with Officer Morgan. I spoke with, and it's redacted, and he told me that JonBenet had been found in the basement by Mr. Ramsey while redacted, and Mr. Ramsey were looking through the house. So I didn't know that. I guess there was 2 friends with Mr. Ramsey looking through the house, at least according to this officer's report.
Yeah, I knew one. Well, I had read that one was.
But this is weird. It says, Mr. Oh, this must be after they interviewed one of the other people there. Mr. So-and-so, because once again redacted, told me that he had opened the door to that area earlier in the morning and had not seen JonBenet's body inside, and that he secured the door. Oh, never mind. He didn't. So somebody else other than this officer obviously had looked in there.
One of the friends went in there, looked. The light was off. From what I understood, the light was like a pull string light.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't on the door.
Not on the wall.
Not on the wall. That's what I meant.
And
And so the light was off, so he didn't go in there.
And we don't know, and we'll never know where that body was actually laying because, of course, John found her and brought her upstairs, and therefore, who knows? Anyways, next report. This is Robert Whitson. Let's see. So here's an interesting note. He was advised by another officer, an Officer Barry Weiss, that he had gone around and he'd photographed the house, and he didn't find any signs of an obvious crime scene where there had been any sort of a struggle. Well, you'd think if you're, I don't know, she's only 6, I guess, how big of a struggle would they put up? But
Well, especially if she was incapacitated from the very get-go. You know, she was drugged or hit on the head, or, I mean, there's theories out there that she was tased. I mean, any of that. So there wouldn't be no fight from her.
And I was thinking that, let's see, we already went through that. That was a handwriting samples. Now, here's a big report. This might be the officer that you were talking about earlier, Detective Linda Arndt.
Yes, that's her name.
Yeah, and I think that she
kind of just hung out with them all day long and just observed them, from what I understand. Like, she just watched and took notes.
And her report is extremely, extremely detailed. So she would almost had to have taken notes because everybody else's report's like 3 pages long, and hers is like
I think she was in there
long.
They just sat her in there and they said, watch the family, watch what they do. And she took notes on everything. Yeah. And she's the one that said, I knew what happened. You know, she noted that Patsy and John had distanced themselves from each other. They weren't really talking to each other. She thought it was odd that he was so calm and just kind of going through his mail, and I don't know. And
she made sure, I mean, early in her report, page 1, she noted that she was speaking to another officer, and this is kind of coming third party. So she's talking to this sergeant, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, so we'll just call him Sergeant. And the sergeant had mentioned to her that Officer French had told Sergeant Reichenbach, I don't know, that something didn't seem right. Now we're talking early in the investigation, before any body had been found, and you've already got an officer going,
something's fishy.
Something weird. Maybe it was the weird note.
Yeah, and it's hard to speculate what you would do yourself. I just know my tendencies and what I would do. I don't think I could sit still. I think I don't know. I'd probably be in the car just driving aimlessly just to look for something just because I don't think I could sit there. Who knows what would happen in that situation, but I don't know that I'd be just randomly, casually going through my mail. I don't know, unless it was a nervousness of like, I don't know what to do, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I know the officers picked up on something, and I think they picked up on it pretty quick. Besides Officer French, this sergeant, who also noted, and this is also really early in the report, he said there was a light dusting of snow on the ground when he arrived at the Ramsey residence. He did not notice any footprints or other tracks in the snow. And he personally checked the exterior of the Ramsey residence. He didn't notice any signs of forced entry whatsoever. So that brings us to something weird, the forced entry. So I seen two photographs, and I wished I would have read into which window, but they were a basement window. To get to the window, you actually have to remove a metal grate.
Yes. Okay. So I saw a video of this because I didn't understand it, and I wanted to understand what I was picturing and to see if I was picturing it right. Because I had an old basement window pictured in my mind, and that was not what it was. You actually had to lift up this metal grate, and then that put you down in this window well. And then from the window well, it's like a normal window well, which had the. Honestly, I think there was like 3 windows in this window well. Like it was pretty wide, if the picture was correct.
Another thing that was weird, the picture is a baseball bat laying next to the grate.
Oh.
Which I don't know where the baseball bat come into play.
On the outside of the house?
On the outside of the house. Now, here's something else that's weird. Now, one of the windows was broken out. However, John had actually told the officers that he had actually broke that window out weeks earlier when he had locked himself out of the house. And so he removed the window grate. He kicked in the window so he could gain entry into his own house. So that window was already broke out. However, I had 2 questions when I was reading about that. There was another picture of a window that was propped open. Now, on that broken window is where the suitcase was. The open window, there was a chair. And I thought...
It wasn't the same window? Because
no,
I thought I read that because the window was already broken, it could have gave them easy access to reach in, unlock the window, and then open the window. So I thought it was the same window that was open.
That could be, but that brings me to another question. So Officer French is searching the house, and he's down in the basement. You think he would have noticed a window propped open
Right.
and either a chair or a suitcase sitting there and went,
Yeah,
seems normal.
that's odd. And if the window was broken prior because he locked himself out and didn't get it fixed, which is weird, it's winter.
Yeah.
It's cold. Wouldn't you take note, and if there was a light dusting of snow, wouldn't you take note of how freaking cold it was down there?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a basement, but still.
You're a multimillionaire.
Their playthings are in the basement. There's toys in the basement. It's freaking cold. Wouldn't you be like, God, why is it so damn cold down here?
Yeah. Well, you would think.
It's weird.
And with the amount of money, I mean...
3 people going down there don't notice the temperature, that it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird.
Well, and that officer French, the reason he was in the basement to begin with is he was looking for an escape route. And the reason he didn't open the door to the wine cellar where the body was eventually found is because he thought, well, they couldn't have escaped there because they couldn't have relocked it.
Right.
And so I doubt that he went down the stairs, saw the one door and said, well, no way out of here, and went back upstairs. You know he walked around, and you know that he would have seen a window propped open or at least busted out, and a suitcase or a chair or whatever the case may be sitting in front of the window and went, that's where they
Okay.
come in and out.
So then it makes me just obviously say that John did that when he went down to go look. He thought, well, I know what the cops are looking for. I better make this look
Well,
legit, and opened up the window.
so one of the things in this report is that John really distanced himself from everybody else the entire time law enforcement was there. He didn't go and hang out with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't hang out with other people. At one point, this detective had pointed out that he would just stare at the floor and he would bounce his knee like I was earlier, and Marissa yelled at me with her hands. And she noted in her report, so I'm assuming that she probably thought, well, he's acting weird.
Yeah.
She also noted that when she did have conversations with him, unlike Patsy, who was wigging out,
Yeah.
that he was pretty calm. He could talk just fine. He would laugh and joke.
Yeah, that tells me he knew something. He knew what happened.
Well, and here's another clue that I read in here.
He knew what happened, and that was a cover-up. Like, yeah.
Well,
That seems odd.
This detective's pretty observant, because one thing that she brought up in this report that I might not have even thought about, and actually I didn't catch it until the second time I read this report, is in the ransom note it says that they're going to be called between 8 and 10, right? 10 o'clock rolls by, nobody says, hey,
We haven't
I
gotten a
ain't got
phone
no
call.
phone call yet. What the hell's going on?
Also, if I'm a billionaire, I'm getting on the phone and I'm calling every single connection I have. If I'm a billionaire, I've got connections. If I'm a billionaire in 1996, I've got connections. I'm getting on the phone and I'm saying, give me your best detective. Find this, call this person. I'm getting everybody on board. We're going to find my daughter. He wasn't doing any of that. Isn't that weird? He's got all these business connections.
Well, I'd just like to point out, if it's 2025 and you're a billionaire, you're calling everybody and having a freak off.
Okay,
But
Diddy.
anyways, sorry, Diddy. But I'm not really sorry. So what else was pointed out here?
Yeah, I just think that's that's strange behavior.
So
I just feel like no matter what, even if the cops are handling it, he would still have to be on the phone, calling, doing something.
So I will point out that one of the reasons that he hung out in the den area, which is on one side of the house, and Patsy was clear into the, I believe, like a living room area, clear on the other end of the house. And this is a mansion. It's not like my 900 square foot house.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a huge house, which also is weird. So one thing that was pointed out, or that John pointed out, is that he left no lights on in the house, and the house was secured. The only lights that were maybe on was some Christmas lights outside. So you have this huge house that somebody breaks in through a basement window, and I imagine pretty dark in the basement. Maybe had a flashlight, I don't know. But he had to find his way. This is a 3-story house, mind you. Out of the basement to the main floor, from the main floor to the second floor, find the bedroom with JonBenet, grab JonBenet, go back down. Oh, wait, he had to stop because he had to write that ransom note. Maybe he wrote that afterwards. I don't know.
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
No.
Because, yeah, even, like I said, it would have to be the theory where this property was stalked and for a long time ahead of time, and had to have been in the house prior to, because it was described as like a labyrinth. Like there was hallways going in every different direction, and it said that Burke was on the second floor was the kids' rooms. Burke was on one side and JonBenet was on the other side. the attic was refurbished, and it was just like John and Patsy's suite was on the whole
Yeah, they were on the third floor. And there was
but there was the weird hallways and weird. It was just
there's 2 stairwells that actually went to the third floor, and there was also 2 stairwells that went from the second floor down to the first floor. One being the spiral staircase. I can't even talk.
yeah.
Which is where she discovered the ransom note. That's another thing. So you're kidnapping a kid, and the staircase you choose is the tight spiral one. Now,
Well, was that the one leading directly from their, well,
I don't.
they're both leading from their bedroom, obviously.
They both lead up to the bedroom, and I don't know. Maybe
Well, and maybe
that's all he
I'm
found
not,
with
maybe
his
it's not a
flashlight.
bedroom.
I
Maybe
don't know.
I mean, it could be a bedroom and then dressing room and bathroom and like the whole floor. So who knows?
Yeah,
Anyway.
big house. So that's just odd. Unless it was someone that was really familiar with the house, like John or Patsy.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got in here that's weird?
So do you feel like, in your opinion, do you feel like Patsy had anything to do with this? I feel like John is suspicious. That's my opinion. I feel like John is very suspicious. I know the ransom note was allegedly Patsy's handwriting, according to the analysis.
It was the only
Correct.
over 70 people were sampled, and Patsy's samples, and it might have been the historic samples, were the only ones that that had parts of her handwriting that matched. And the other thing that was odd is her handwriting changed after the death of JonBenet. So I don't know many people that just up and change their handwriting just like that. I mean, I can see over a period of time someone's handwriting changing. Mine has certainly gotten sloppier, but it's not like you're writing this way one day and the next day I'm going to change that.
The only thing is that I imagine she was heavily medicated after that fact.
So supposedly she was...
Because if you're going through the death of your daughter, plus you're on cancer medications, which I don't know if she was in remission at that point, but
She was.
I imagine maybe she was on a chronic pain med or an antidepressant or something like that. And after the fact, I imagine she was pretty well stocked with either some antidepressants or anti-anxiety or whatever it may be, just to numb her out so she doesn't have to feel that pain.
But I also...
Pain meaning emotional pain.
I also think that maybe some of those newer... Because you can't change it completely.
No.
But it is odd that out of all the samples they took, in 70-some samples, that hers was the only one even close.
Yeah. And, on the videos of what I've seen of the note, it looked like it was somebody purposely trying to squiggle and make the handwriting look bad. Which I remember seeing, this is going off topic, but do you know anything about Burke?
The 9-year-old?
Yeah.
I don't.
So I saw a interview with Burke as an adult. It was actually done by Dr. Phil. I was watching a body language person doing a recap of this interview that he had with Dr. Phil. And that kid, in my opinion, is clearly on the spectrum.
Oh, I think so.
Now, not maybe...
You're rubbing.
Not maybe autistically, but he's probably full-blown autistic, but he acts like he's got an Asperger's or something like that, where he's not socially inept with things that are going on, and like his flat affect, he doesn't really show emotion. He smiles inappropriately. which completely tells me he's on the spectrum of some sort. But Dr. Phil asked him about the ransom note, showed him the ransom note, said, does this look like your mom's handwriting? And he's like, no, that's not my mom's handwriting. That's way too messy to be my mom's handwriting. I remember she would always tell me that I needed to write better because I wrote too sloppy. That's not my mom's handwriting. Almost kid-like. And they're almost 30 years old. I don't know. The body language was saying that now he's being a little looking like he's deceptive. Like it really does look like her handwriting, but it's made to look sloppy. That's kind of what the theory was. But
well, and if you're writing a ransom note for your own kid, you probably are going to try to disguise it.
Well, yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a little bit.
But yeah.
Hey, back to the handwriting sample. Something else I just noticed in my notes here. So when they were taking the handwriting samples that morning on the 2 notepads, or no, it wasn't even the handwriting samples. So they had tapped the phones because, of course, they're expecting us.
Right, a phone call.
Yeah, they're expecting a phone call. And so the detective had handed John a notepad and said, hey, if you get a call, I'm going to write down what I want you to do, but then also I want you to take notes. Well, when she had retrieved that from him at a later time, one of the things that he wrote in there was, must talk to JB. Who the hell's JB? Well,
did they find out? Did they ask him?
Well, it's funny because he didn't want to answer any questions later on. Anyway, however, so after the body's discovered, people wonder, well, why didn't they just immediately interview the parents? Well, they tried.
They didn't want to be separated, right? Or they refused to be separated?
Well, so immediately after the body's discovered, they have the parents, everybody actually leave the house, and they go to a friend's house. So later on that day, or probably that evening, detectives show up and they want to talk to Patsy and they want to talk to John. Well, when they arrive at the house where they're staying, lo and behold, a doctor's there. There's a couple of lawyers present. One of the lawyers is his brother, and the other lawyer is a family friend. And his name, I was hoping it was going to be like something with the initials JB. It wasn't quite, but it was close. Let me get his name. Shoot, I don't think it's in here. Oh, it was. Was it Dr. Boof? Is that the lawyer? Let me see here. So
He's a lawyer. What is he a doctor of?
I don't know.
Or is that her doctor?
But I do know what it does say in here, and I'll just read it so I don't screw this up. I'm pretty good at screwing things up. So they go to this house where they're at, and let's see, in the room is John Ramsey's brother, Jeff Ramsey, who introduced himself as an attorney and a stockbroker with, and they block that out, located in Atlanta. A doctor, also blacked out, the physician for the Ramsey family, and Mike Bynum, who described himself as a friend of John Ramsey and also as an attorney who was providing John Ramsey with advice. So I don't know why you'd have a lawyer there immediately after the body's discovered giving you advice.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is if he's worried about something with his business and protecting some information coming out about his business. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know.
So
because why?
Well,
doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to say it's really weird. So they asked to talk to Patsy right, at this meeting. Actually wanted to talk to both. And the doctor interjected and said, well, we really don't think that it's a good time for Patsy because now she's heavily medicated, which I can understand being heavily medicated. They didn't want her talking. But also, John didn't want to talk right then and there. Maybe at a later time.
Maybe, maybe he was kind of smelling the blood in the water, so to speak, with the detective, the female detective that had already pegged what happened. Maybe she was giving hints as to, we know you did something, dude.
Well,
We know you did something. What's going on? Maybe he's thinking they're gonna try to say we did it. We need a lawyer. I mean,
well, I think,
some aspect I can see.
well, John spent all day in the house with this detective. And he probably noticed that the detective was probably talking to a lot of people and asking some questions. So I'm going to I'm really going to bounce around a lot here, but I'm going to back up a little bit to before, and I think this is before she was found. And she's asking John himself, do you notice anything funny about this note? And this is what he says. Well, this is what she says. So she handed John the note, and I asked John Ramsey to tell me what unusual things he detected from reading the note. John said very little. Later, she goes to the friends, and she asks him the same thing, hands him a note, and says, you notice anything odd about this note? And it says, John Ramsey's friends made the following observations about the note. The author of the note directed the note to John Ramsey. The amount of $118,000 seemed odd. The words hence and attaché were used. The sentence, don't try to grow a brain, John, seemed to be a slap in the face to John Ramsey. And the closure, Victory SBTC, did not make any sense. And the reference they made about John Ramsey being a Southerner indicated to the friends that the person did not really know who John Ramsey was because John was originally from Michigan. So they also asked Patsy. This is what Patsy said. She didn't know why somebody would ask for the amount of $118,000. She said that amount really had no significance with her. Patsy asked why the author of the note had not asked for a larger sum of money, or at least a round sum. And then she also made reference to the note as John being Southern. And then one of the other friends also pointed out that they could have asked John for $10 million and they would have gotten it.
Right.
So, I mean, the whole note thing was odd. Now, there's something else that I had to do a little research on this.
They had moved from Georgia.
Well, they had a house in Atlanta yet. They had multiple homes, I believe. I believe they had a house in Boulder. They had a house in Michigan. They had a house in Atlanta, and they had a private jet. So obviously these are wealthy people. And if this guy's pretending to know John, you think he would have known that. I kind of wonder, because I do suspect that Patsy wrote that note. I think everybody does. That she was also trying to make it sound like she didn't write the note.
Right. So there's also a theory that because John was behind it and whatever matter he was behind it, whatever avenue he was behind it, that he actually made her write the note. She maybe didn't have anything to do with it or didn't know anything about it, but he made her write the note and said, hey, you're going to write this note. This is what you're going to say. I'm going to tell you what to say. Now write this note. And the first thing I would probably do as a woman is I'd be looking through the Pottery Barn catalogs and seeing if he made a purchase for an attaché. Because unless you buy an attaché, you don't know what an attaché is.
Well, that's something that's kind of odd. You read the note, and part of it, the person sounds stupid. And then they use words like attaché and hence.
Yeah. The only way you know that word is if you're buying it.
Yeah. I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. I had to Google it.
And you're buying it from, I mean, you could buy it from a leather store. You could buy it from maybe a jewelry store. I mean, a high-end department store. I mean, it's a briefcase.
Yeah.
It's a fancy briefcase. It's a soft-sided briefcase, right?
I don't know if it's soft-sided or hard-sided, but it is a briefcase, and I'm sure that
An attaché case.
everybody's probably Googled it by now.
Yeah.
I did.
It's something
And they
that
spelled
would,
it right.
It's something that would be sold at Free People these days, maybe.
So here's something else that's odd. So this is the body's been discovered. John carries it up the stairs. And this is that detective. This is her observations. Both of her arms were raised above her head and were motionless. Her lips appeared blue. Her body appeared to have rigor mortis. There was a white string attached to her right wrist. There was a bright red mark, approximately the size of a quarter, at the front of her neck. The lower portion of her neck, on the right side of her face, appeared to have livor mortis. Then she goes on to say, there was dried mucus from one of JonBenet's nostrils. My face was within inches of JonBenet's face. I detected the odor of decay. So, first I had to look up both how long it takes for the onset of rigor mortis and livor mortis. And both of those are pretty quick. It's 2 to 4 hours. At about 12 hours, it's at its max. It goes on for about 6 to 12 hours, and then it goes away. So I don't know if people realize that, but rigor mortis actually goes away. And
Yeah, because then your body softens and it starts.
But the one thing I did find odd was she detected the odor of decay, and I don't know if that's her mind playing games on her, but when I researched that takes days.
Yeah, that could just be bad, like, if a kid doesn't brush her teeth at night and just had something sweet, it's just could be bad breath.
That could be.
It's just the odor in the mouth.
That very well could be. That's probably what I smell like in the morning.
Trust me, I had 4 kids, and sometimes their mouths would smell like death in the morning. So.
Oh, yeah, I know. I won't get into it. I gotta.
So
we all know
that's
people.
what that could be. I mean, I don't know that you could smell that. If rigor mortis is there, I don't know that you could smell that unless you have somebody that's in the dying process on hospice or something like that. They kind of have an odor, so to speak. But right away, even before they're dying, before they're dead. But yeah, I don't think she could have smelled death or decaying anyway.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because I think obviously they probably were at a party the night before, and they did have a party, I think, on the 23rd as well. So she wasn't. She probably wasn't dead real long. I would guess that I couldn't even guess, because she could have been killed at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by 1 o'clock when she was discovered, there could have been rigor at that point.
Yeah.
But what we do know is, based on all the events that happened, at least that morning, pretty much every officer at that point was suspicious of the family. 1, there's no tracks around the house. 2, there's a really weird note that was left. 3, here's something we didn't even talk about, is when John discovered the body. So John's acting all weird, his knees bouncing, he's looking at the floor, and the detective's like, well, we've already checked the house and we need to keep his mind occupied. So she tells one of his friends, why don't you take John around the house and see if we missed anything, like maybe some personal belongings that belong to JonBenet that might be missing that we wouldn't have noticed. Immediately, he goes for the basement door. Now, this is right at 1 o'clock, and by 1:05, I think it was sooner than that, I think she described it within a minute or two, she's already hearing people yell. He's already found the body. And she talked to the friend that followed John, and he said that, He followed John downstairs. John had gone to that door. He opened it. He couldn't see past John. He couldn't see through the door. But John immediately discovered that body. He said that she was covered in a blanket, had tape over her mouth. He removed the blanket or the sheet, peeled the tape off the mouth, which as a parent I would do. Brought her upstairs. Now, there's one more weird thing that I didn't mention. So he brought her upstairs. And I actually mentioned this. I think we had a conversation a day or two ago. And I think maybe even I mentioned it to Marissa when I was reading some of these reports, that if you're a parent and you kill your kid, or, excuse me, wow, I'm going to fight that all night. Or you're looking at somebody who's deceased that you know, that you don't want to stare at their face, so you cover them up.
Yeah, that's a telltale sign of...
That's weird that she's found with the sheet. And it gets even more weird because he takes her upstairs, and the first thing he wants to do after he lays her down, he wants to cover her up, and he does cover her up. Actually, the detective said, don't touch her. Just put her down and leave her. And before she could even respond to anything he was doing, he covered her back up.
Yeah, that's suspicious. I mean,
So,
when you're playing out all this stuff of what's happening, it does seem odd. In the moment, he's maybe just looking like a caring parent, and he's wants to comfort her as if she's alive, and so he's covering her up. But in hindsight, that's weird. And if he was told to go up and look for things that are missing, why wouldn't he go up to her room?
I don't know. Why did he go straight to the basement?
Even the whole second floor, because that's where all their rooms were.
Well, that's where she was taken from, so you would think that if anything else is missing, it's going to be missing from the same room that your kid is missing from. But, I guess he knew where the body was.
Okay, so we're both along the same lines where we have this speculation that we think John is behind it, or John has something to do with it. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I think it?
Yep. No, why? Not why do you think it, but why do you think he had something to do with it? Like, what's the reasoning behind? Do you think he actually killed her? Let's put it that way.
I think he did. I think if he didn't kill her, he had something to do with her death. I don't think it was on purpose. So something else, we didn't get into the autopsy report, but obviously she was found with a rope around her neck. Some other evidence that was discovered is the knot that was tied was a complicated knot. And I can't remember what it was called. It was on my notes on my computer, and I'm kicking that thing on. But it was, it wasn't like a knot that I've ever, it's called a garrote. That's what it was.
A garrote.
A garrote. Okay.
Well, a garrote is the device that you make a lever, you turn it, and it gets tighter. So,
well, the knot.
Farmers will make a garrote when they're putting fence up, so to speak. Not necessarily a garrote, but use their pliers as a garrote and grab it and turn it to make it tighter. So to speak.
I thought I had a picture of this note or that knot. I don't think I do. But it was a weird knot. It almost looked like a braid. Like the knot itself looked like a braid. It wasn't like he just, made a square knot and tightened it up. It was like a pretty intricate knot.
Well, because whatever he's using as that lever is going to slide through if he doesn't do it in a certain way.
Yeah, that's weird. And the stick that was slid through was from a busted off paintbrush in the home.
Yeah.
She was also sexually assaulted.
With the end of the paintbrush. With the broken piece of the paintbrush.
And I think, I can't recall, she might have been sexually assaulted. They might have found some male DNA in there as well.
Well, they found male DNA on her underwear, which they couldn't find. I mean, it was speculation that it could have come from the manufacturer of the actual underwear that had gotten the DNA on the underwear. Like, there was a whole big thing with that. But I had seen that the broken paintbrush, the part that was broken off, had been used to molest her. When they examined her in the hospital, she had swelling in that area, which was in correlation with prior sexual assault, but not recent. So meaning there was no damage to her genital area, but there was swelling as if it had been done previously, like days before or a day before, but not immediate. So there was a little bit of blood, but the blood didn't come from that area, is what I saw.
So if I'm looking at the whole incident, so they get home at 10 o'clock at night. He reads her a book, they go to bed. Somebody breaks into the house. It's a big house, so it's going to take him time to get to the second floor. Get a hold of JonBenet. Write a note. Sexually assault her. Bash her head in. Climb back out a window. Take off. Levitating because he didn't leave any tracks in the snow. I mean, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
So that's why I suspect, especially when I seen there was a sexual assault as well, it made me think, well, maybe somehow John was involved or somebody was involved within the family, whether it be a family friend, whether it be a member of the family. She was maybe accidentally killed. Maybe something happened because her head was also, I think that was the cause of death was actually, well, it would have had
I
to
think
been
it said
strangulation.
asphyxiation was her cause of death, like it was on the medical examiner's report. But she did have a knot on her head. Mm-hmm. It didn't break the skin open, but it did crack her skull.
So,
or even fractured her skull. I mean, not just fractured, but it left a missing piece from her skull towards her brain. But it didn't puncture the scalp.
So the other thing that makes me think the parents did it, and we haven't got into this yet, is, okay, so they didn't do an interview immediately afterwards. They went on to say that, hey, we want to have the funeral in Atlanta. Maybe we'll have the interview after the funeral. Well, after the funeral, they still didn't want to have the interview, and they kept delaying it. Well, they'd also lawyered up, and the lawyer was delaying. So anytime they wanted to interview, they would have to submit it to the attorneys. This is the interview process, and it was pretty standard. And the interview was to take place at a police department, that they would be interviewed separately, and they would be interviewed by the investigators. And the lawyer said, no, that ain't going to work for us. Let me submit you our terms. And those terms were, you have to interview them both at the same time, in the same room, at the lawyer's office with the lawyer present, and a doctor present, her doctor present actually. And what I found weird is that they wanted to select the people conducting the interview. Well,
yeah, that's just that's an OJ request right there.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
No.
So this went on for months, and I didn't get that like second or third hand. I actually went and read through all of the press releases that the Boulder Police Department put out, and I found that within their press releases.
Wow.
So
I mean, that just screams I'm hiding something, doesn't it?
And not just that. So just a few days after this, after JonBenet was killed, they did an interview with CNN. So they'll do an interview on the news. Probably.
Didn't they do one with Larry King?
I think they did several interviews, but not once, at least in the first several months, did they talk to law enforcement and interview. And I didn't look to see. I think they eventually had some sort of an interview with law enforcement. I don't recall. I didn't dig that far into it because by then, I mean, my mind was kind of made up. All the circumstances from the house the day of the murder, so far as the lack of any evidence of somebody moving around the house. They couldn't find, at least the initial law enforcement, any signs of any forced entry, the weird ransom note. The dad found her immediately. All of that, and then you delay on an interview. You lawyer up immediately. I mean, I can see maybe wanting to have an attorney, especially if you think, oh my God, the cops think I did it, but I really didn't do it. But I can also tell you that I would still, myself,
But
I would probably cooperate and talk to law enforcement.
Exactly.
And I probably wouldn't request an attorney until they turned and said, well, we think you did it.
Yeah.
Maybe at that point.
Yeah.
But I would probably also be screaming and crying that, no, I didn't.
Right. So let's go back to your very, very first statement or what you were talking about. And you were in the law enforcement academy.
Yeah.
And this.
Don Capps.
Yeah. So did he say why he didn't want to touch that? Why he didn't want to be involved in that?
The biggest reason is because they allowed the family to stay in the house, which allowed John to discover the body. And when John discovered that body, one of the first things he did was remove the tape.
Yeah.
And Don Capps made a pretty big deal of that because of all of the things where there could have been a fingerprint, it would have been on that tape. You're probably not going to find it on a piece of rope because rope's too porous. You might not find it on a wooden dowel or a busted off stick because wood's a little porous too. It's pretty tough to get a fingerprint. But tape will leave an excellent fingerprint, both on the backside and on the sticky side. So once that's removed, even if you were to flatten that thing back out, well, of course, John's fingerprint's going to be on it now. He took it off.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the biggest reason because...
and this is hindsight, but did he give you any theories or opinions as to what he thought happened?
Oh, just reading over the officer's reports and looking at the evidence, he was convinced already that the parents had everything to do with that murder. The parents themselves. He didn't blame family friends. He didn't blame anybody else. As a matter of fact, he told the class that he was convinced that Patsy wrote the note. And I think by then they'd already obtained several handwriting samples, and they had comparisons done, and of course hers is the only one that matched.
So the other theory is that Burke did it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Burke did it? And I'm asking because I'm going back to what I said before and how I thought he might be a little bit on the spectrum.
I don't think so because so one thing I failed to mention is Burke actually was interviewed right after the body was found. And I don't think Burke said or did or acted in any way that triggered any sort of suspicion out of anybody. So, and kids are funny. So when I was in law enforcement, one of the things that I did is I was a forensic interviewer for childs involved with assaults or sexual assaults. And I'm not going to say kids don't lie, because kids do lie, but you can kind of pick up on if a kid's being full of shit. But I think when they interviewed Burke, he didn't say anything odd. And I think when you're interviewing anybody, and it doesn't matter if it's a kid or an adult, you're not just looking for inconsistencies in their stories, but you're looking at their behaviors. You're looking at how they just even answer or talk to you. You're looking at body language. I mean, you're looking at everything, and you can tell when somebody's being full of shit.
Yeah, and even like I said, that's my opinion, where I feel like in that older interview when he was an adult, he just acts like he's different.
Well, I can tell you that 9-year-olds suck at lying.
Yeah, I
your
mean, I don't.
teenager can lie.
Even if he was, a little different, he would probably give some very big tells, I would think. Because if he was a little bit on the spectrum, they really do have a flat affect, and they kind of have that don't give a shit type of, like, they don't. There's no social awareness, so they can say there's no filter. Basically, is what I'm saying. So, if he were to actually lie about it, I just don't think that would happen because that filter's not there. Because I don't know. That's just my opinion, but I feel like he has some capacity of.
You think he did it?
No, I don't think he did it.
What do you think happened?
I don't think he did it. Because of that reason. Because I feel like I just don't know. Because of his flat affect, because of the way he talks to people. And they find him very odd, so they kind of point the finger at him because he is odd and he acts odd.
Well,
Not
it's easy.
saying that he did in that interview, but when he, like, right after the fact. But later on, they really picked on some of his behavior and why did he do this and why did he say that, and 2 weeks after the fact that he just said he's moving on with his life. Well, that's what a 9-year-old says, but I really feel like, I don't know, I think he would have had some kind of tell, like, I don't know, he'd give it away.
So who do you think did it?
I feel like it was accidental. Whether it was John or it was, I mean, it's hard to give an opinion when you hear stories because you always have those stories in the back of your mind, like, okay, what if this is true? But there's a story of there's others involved, and there may have been some pedophilia involved, whether it was with him or with friends of his. In some aspect, I think he was involved. I don't know that he actually did it, but he maybe knows who did it or knows what happened.
Well, I know
and he's covering up for it.
When he laid her on the floor, he pretended to cry.
Yeah.
No tears. And he would kneel next to her, and this is according to the detective. He would kneel next to her, like put his fingers through her hair, and then he would stop, and he would look towards the doorway to see if anybody was coming, like to the next room, like if his wife or friends. And then he would go back to doing what he was doing, and he'd stop and look. Almost like, come on, see me doing this. Mm-hmm. See me being all lovey-dovey.
But in some aspect, don't
upset.
you think if he's the one that did it, don't you feel like he would almost have that release of freaking crying and be guilty and just bawling?
I don't know. I mean,
whereas if you're involved with some kind of sinister acts and you're in this kind of group of what is the theory out there, there's this group of this pedo porn ring, you kind of know this is going on in the background. You kind of know who did it. You put your daughter into this situation. It kind of almost removes you it from reality. And that's why he had no tears. I don't know. I feel like I just don't feel like he did it on purpose. If he would killed her on accident, I feel like he would still have deep remorse and be crying about it. Like, oh my God.
That could be.
I don't know. I
don't know either. Something else I didn't mention is John isn't the only one that lawyered up. How long have we been running? Hour and a half? Wow.
Holy crap.
It's like the Joe Rogan podcast, except nobody watches this one.
We'll have to cut it in 2 segments, part 1 and part 2.
Well, something else that's funny, and this come right from the Boulder Police Department as well, is John didn't just lawyer himself and his wife up. So police wanted to talk to some associates and friends of his. And when John discovered that, he lawyered them up too. So he paid for their attorney, and then their attorney said, no.
Yeah, see,
you're not talking
that's
to him.
weird.
So that's weird.
That's weird.
It's one thing to say, hey, I better get a lawyer because I think they might think I did it. But then to say, well, I better hire an attorney for my friends and these other associates because I think law enforcement wants to talk to them too.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's weird. So
That's why so there's something fishy.
yeah.
And that's kind of where my belief is that they were involved in something nefarious, and an accident happened. But I feel like he knew about it.
I think he did too. Should we wrap this up?
Yep.
Marissa says it's been an hour and a half. All right.
I mean, there's a lot to cover. It's an old case. There's a lot of information, but with you reading some of that, this information I didn't know about, and I didn't know a lot of it either until I kind of refreshed my memory of it.
And I still haven't read it all. I don't know if
It's just it's interesting and ongoing, and we're probably never going to know.
we're not going to know tonight.
No, and Patsy's already gone. I'm sure John will be gone, and then
I don't know.
Maybe
somebody will talk. Maybe after the current Diddy case, somebody's going to talk.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe Diddy did it.
Maybe Diddy did do it.
Gosh, dang
That's a
that guy.
mouthful.
All right,
All
well,
right.
let's close her up.
Nice talking to you.
We'll catch you later.
Adios.
Peace out.